Anything juicy over there?
Nothing new.
Same here. Victor seemed like a normal guy. Dead family, missing eye. Took a plea deal, sent to Benhurst, blah, 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 blah.
Robin shares so many of those traits of having ADHD. You can see her mumbling, and even though Nancy is getting annoyed, she's unable to read all of those visual clues. Because Robin's so deeply in her head, she's not really filtering them in.
Or hiding something super solid up your sleeve that you were gonna wow us with later. But this is like really, truly a shot in the dark. Like we are snipers with blindfolds on who've been spun around 50 times.
And also what happens is that when people with ADHD sometimes get really excited, they might deal with that anxiety by talking a lot and not really waiting their turn and just blurting out everything that they might say, which for other people might be annoying, or they might find that kind of contrived or wonder why they won't be able to stop. When you're filled with anxiety, remember, the thinking part of your brain kind of turns off. With it, your ability to filter out when you should speak and when you shouldn't, and people's reaction, you're not reading them as effectively as you would when you're really calm.
What are we looking for exactly? Nance?
I love that because we probably all have people in our lives that will do that. We'll just kind of tap incessantly and we're trying to give them really quietly these cues that I'm doing something, leave me alone. Because Robin is so busy in her head, and that's not the way that she does things, she's not able to really notice that this might be Nancy's quiet way of saying, leave me alone. Because she needs that constant feedback, that immediacy, that she's not great with delaying gratification, she wants it when she wants it, which is now.
Big waste of time. And you're obviously bored, so why don't you just call Steve?
You do know that Steve and I are like totally not a thing, right?
Robin did pick up on Nancy being a touch jealous of what she perceives as Robin's relationship with Steve.
I wanted to make sure that you knew that Steve and I are just friends, like platonic with a capital P, in case that's adding any tension between us.
Because Robin doesn't have a filter, she says whatever she's thinking. I like that. I like that you know where you stand with Robin because she's not going to hold anything back. And you can tell that Nancy, on the other hand, she's trying to be polite. And so she's biting her tongue instead of sharing how she feels about Robin.
Did I come off mean or condescending or something?
No.
Right.
You can tell that Robin noticed that Nancy is being a little bit annoyed. And I love, though, that Robin directly asks, am I being too annoying with you? Because she wants to be able to do better. She has the amount of self-awareness to know that sometimes she doesn't have that much self-awareness.
Sorry, it's just you seem annoyed. You don't know me very well. I don't really have a filter or a strong grasp of social cues.
It might seem like Robin's being careless or isn't really paying attention or doesn't care about how you feel. And I think that that's what Nancy's getting, but actually it's just that Robin is so caught up with what she's thinking that sometimes it gets ahead of her. And when she gets really excited, it all overflows out.
So if I say something that upsets you, just know that I know that it's a flaw. Believe me, my mother reminds me daily. Got it.
But I love that even though Robin knows that Nancy is annoyed, she doesn't take it personally. She's not thinking that far ahead to it, and she just assumes that it's probably Nancy's dealing with her own Nancy stuff, that it isn't directly her. That's probably because Robin is used to that. She's used to people not always taking what she says in the manner in which she means it, because sometimes she speaks before she thinks. For Robin, the way to deal with that would be to pause before she says something and think about it. But when you're really excited and you just want to be able to say something right away when you want to say it, it's so hard to wait. And also that talking and all of those exuberant hand movements that she does, that's a way of burning off adrenaline, that anxiety that she might feel. And that might not just be when she's anxious, but also when she's excited and happy.
I can't breathe in this thing, and I'm itchy. I'm itching all over. It's not all about comfort, okay? We're academics.
And it might come out as a lack of self-control and that fidgeting and being uncomfortable with new and different circumstances because she's not able to filter all of those different sets of information out of her mind.
Let me do the talking, if that's even possible.
It's not only possible, it's inevitable because shortly I'll be dead from strangulation.
And I love it. I love the way that she just says whatever she's feeling like, and she's really exuberant. And you can tell that for Robin, it's hard for her to stay focused on the task at hand because she's so stuck on whatever she's thinking in the moment. Often also you have this exaggeration of feelings and emotions because you become hyper-focused at whatever is at hand with you, easily distracted, even by something little like a really itchy collar.
Our thesis is due next month.
And you're out of time. Whose fault is that?
Ours, absolutely, and I do apologize.
That being able to read the room when she's paying attention is really a huge benefit. She knew right away when this interview was going awry and they weren't gonna get what they wanted. For Robin, she not only has ADHD, but she's also leans more towards being one of those super feelers, and she cares a lot about what other people think, and so she can, if she focuses on something, read people. She was able to read Nancy beforehand, and that ability of social engineering is a huge skill, as long as she's calm enough to be able to pay attention.
The fact of the matter is, we did put in a request months ago, and coming here was our last-ditch effort to save our thesis, and I can't breathe in this thing.
And I love that she's able to read what are the things that matter to this professor, really allowing herself to be her, to show a lot of passion.
I'll tell you the truth, Anthony. May I call you Anthony? These aren't actually my clothes. I borrowed them because I wanted you to take us seriously.
And she's able to figure out a plan to be able to get to all the things that Professor Anthony actually cares about.
I'm starting to think this whole thing is a colossal mistake. I'm breaking out in a rash. My boobs hurt, and
she's able to put the professor off guard. One is by mentioning something a little bit inappropriate, talking about her boobs, which people don't usually talk about in polite company. And second, she calls him by his first name. That means that we are equal. I want to talk to you as a person, not through your title or standing. That's where her ADHD is actually really beneficial because she's able to think exceptionally fast, so quickly that she's able to barrage him with all of these different sets of information before he can process them. By her being really anxious and excited, she's able to feed that to him as well, because remember, strong emotions are contagious.
Because nobody takes girls seriously in this field. They just don't. Little Petey McHugh, you know Petey, right, Ruth?
Of course.
Yeah. Little Petey McHugh started sobbing.
And when you're not gonna win an argument through the facts, win it through emotion. That's what she's doing with this story. She wants him to feel sympathy for her.
Because I was obsessed with the question, what would drive a human being to commit such unimaginable acts?
This is what psychologists live for. What makes people tick? Why do people do the things that they do? And so Robin also understands that this is probably what makes him tick. And so not only does she end up getting his sympathy, but she gets his empathy because he can understand feeling that curiosity as well. And so now they're both aligned.
Other kids, they wanted to be astronauts, basketball players, rock stars, but I wanted to be you.
And I love it. It's not just I wanted to do what you do. I want to be who you are. And that feeds his ego. That makes him feel important. And it makes him want to help someone else because immediately we like people who like us. We want to help those that look up to us.
Now try anything in my power to speak to the man that ignited my passion and learn a little bit more about how his twisted, but let's face it, totally fascinating mind works.
And I love it. She used that honesty of how, yeah, this is a little bit of a ruse, but we'll do anything because we care so much about this field. Other people in the field want to help those that have this type of passion because that's why many people go into a field, because they're passionate about it so that he can understand. And she's saying that a lot of people aspire to being an astronaut, but you are the one thing that I aspire the most to be. And so that also puts him back on a pedestal. She took him down and then she rose him back up.
But don't tell me that crybaby Petey McHugh wouldn't have gotten an audience with Victor in a matter of moments if he'd asked politely, because you and I both know that he would. So, 10 minutes with Victor. That's all I ask.
I love it. She tells him what she wants. She doesn't leave it up to him to even be able to think. She spins his mind as quickly as she can. She ignites his passion. She makes him feel. And then she gives him her proclamation. Then give me this. So he doesn't have to process. He just has to say yes. And so that is Robin in a little bit of a nutshell, and why I find her so vastly endearing. Let me know, what are your favorite Robin and Nancy moments? And if you like this video, please hit subscribe.